So here you can see we wanted to make pieces of evidence with strings between them, just like you'd see on any stereotypical detective's board. There will be yellow cards from the police to give a starting point for the player, and anything the player finds on the scene will be marked by a red card next to that thing, and it will be added to your investigation web. If you make a connection from a powered one to a non-powered one, but it's the wrong connection, it'll give you the X and say, no, this is not the right connection. If it's powered and it goes to the right one, it makes a through line. If it's not powered and it is the right or wrong, it'll just stay gray. Let's power that again. Then, if it's the right connection and it's unpowered and going to low, and this power does not go through. So there we go. And then, it's not the right connection anyways, but you get the gist.
Welcome back. In today's video, we're going to be going over all of the new additions and changes to the Gotham Edifice add-on. So if you'd like to stick around to see where this add-on goes from here, feel free to subscribe and like the video, and let's get into it. Okay, so let's talk about all of the new dev tools that we have for the add-on. So first we have the developer transformer, the prop killer, and the dev tool. So let's start with the developer transformer. So what you can do is you can right click to cycle through the different options. So you have rotate, positive X, positive Z, positive Y, and then, the negative versions of all of those. And if you want to cycle backwards, you crouch and then cycle backwards by doing the same thing. So what you can do with this is you can hit the entity and you can change the position like this. And it is aligned to the different pixels of the textures. So it's never going to be like a half pixel into a texture. So it'll be aligned to the pixels. And then if you do rotate, when you hit an entity, let's do this one, you can use a slider to rotate it, and you can rotate it back. And then we have the prop killer. So sometimes, actually most of the time, all the props will be completely invincible. So like this one has like an animation to go with it when you hit it, and this one's just completely invincible. So now we have an item specifically for when you want to just kill something. So when you hit something with it, it dies. Simple as that. And then the dev tool you can use to change the different attributes of each prop. So we can add paper and strings to this, and it will make it available for headspace teleportation. So that's how you'd get into the headspace with a corkboard that has paper and strings on it. Now, you may have noticed that the headspace point is a little bit different now. So let's get into modeling and texturing the new headspace point, because this is what it looked like last time. So now we have a prop that's inspired by the 60s Batman Shakespeare bust. I forgot to mention it, but we also have the entity ID tool, and we'll get into that when we make a crime scene for ourselves. Okay, so now we know a little bit more about our dev tools. So let's make a crime scene. So what we'll do is we'll pick up all these items that we can use in a crime scene. So we have on-site evidence, crime scene tape, notes, and the fire system assets. And that one is really cool, but we'll get into that later. So let's start with the crime scene tape. So what you'll do is you'll put the crime scene tape on some corner. Then what you'll do is take the transformer and set it to, let's say 0 in this case. I know that because that's the orientation I need. So what you can do is you can take your dev tool, and then you can use these two variables to set your X and Z up to 16, which it goes by half blocks. So that would be 8 blocks out. And so it would be an 8 by 8 if you were to do that. So let's do a 6 by 6. There we go, that works. Or if you need to, you can set it to a smaller number. let's just do that so it gets this area. Then what we can do is you can add on-site evidence. So the default is a chemical spill, and of course you can still change the rotation and everything for it, and it snaps to 15-degree angles. So let's just set it to 0. That was fine. What we can do is we can use the dev tool on it, and we can see all these different options for the on-site evidence. So we have a bunch of different types of evidence in here that we can use, like chemical spills, glass shards, goo splatter, which is a placeholder for blood, possibly, depending on, you know, what we decide for the content of the add-on. We have hair, we have a generic ID badge, we have an Arkham ID badge, we have a single gunshot, multiple gunshots, square scrape, wallet, and impact. So for right now, because this is like a lab area, we're just gonna keep it as a chemical spill. And what we can do is we can add a mental message. So we could say chemical spill, likely bleach. Oh, there we go. And then we'll get into all this on the next part. So let's say we want the marker number to be 1. And then this is where we use our entity ID copy. So we'll submit, and then we'll grab our entity ID copy. So let's go into the headspace. And then we'll copy we'll hit the node that this is connected to. So let's say it's this one. And then we'll go back to that area, then grab our copy entity ID and hit this one. So now you can see when I interact with it, it'll add this marker. And you can see in the top left, it says chemical spill, likely bleach. So because this was connected to a police marker, what we can do is we can use the dev tool on this and switch it to a police marker. And then we can change the number to whatever we want. So like number 5 or whatever. And then you can see it says the mental message right here. So if you were to set up a crime scene with police notes already on scene, you would write down what the police have reported about the evidence. So let's make another piece of evidence. Okay, so we're going to do the same thing as last time by making a new piece of evidence. Then we'll use the dev tool on it and change it to Arkham ID. Now, the problem with this is sometimes with the model being 2D, it may be hard to see from far angles like this. So we've made it possible for every piece of on-site evidence to be turned 3D. So all you have to do is hit 3D model and hit submit. And there you go. Now you have a 3D model. Now, another thing that you can do is do a fingerprint check. So usually with items like these, you'll just right click it to say that you've seen it, and then it'll pull up that mental note and, you know, add a marker if needed. But with types like these, you won't be able to do that. It means you need more evidence than just this. And use your forensics powder on it, and you'll see it gets covered in dust, and then you can use a brush and then brush it away, and then you'll see that there are now white little dots on the texture. So that means that there are fingerprints on it. And then if you have a headspace asset connected to this one, then that one would then become available. And as another note, you can use the powder and brush on every item that is related to crime scenes, even if they don't have the fingerprint check. So you could do this and brush them all off, but only ones that have that fingerprint check variable enabled will have the fingerprints on them. The next thing we're going to be talking about is the note. So when you spawn a note, it will usually rotate like that, and you can change its rotation however you like. So what you'll do with the dev tool is go in here and you can change the style of note. So right now it's a writing pad, but you could turn it into a newspaper. We'll see what that looks like. Or a sticky note. So that one's kind of peeling up like a sticky note would. So let's do a newspaper. And what we can do is we can do vertical. So what that'll do is it'll put it upwards, and then we can use the transform thing to push it against the wall so that it looks like it's a texture right up against the wall. And then we can, of course, you know, increase its Y and stuff. Then what you can do is in the dev tool, you can write all of your things that you want to say. So because it's a newspaper, we could say something like something like that. And then of course it has the same entity linking for the headspace as the on-site evidence. We can hit submit, and then when we interact with this, then you can see that we have a newspaper UI that pulls up, and then you can see that message right there. So this is what it would look like for the other types. So we'll do a writing pad. You can see it's like a whole pad right here, and then it lines up with all the different lines. And this is what a sticky note looks like. It's just a little one for small messages. And then of course, when you have a linked evidence node in the headspace to this one, when you interact with it, that node will become available. Okay, so the last thing we're going to be talking about is the fire system assets. So part of what we're doing with this add-on is having assets to decorate the areas to make them more lively. So what we're doing is putting full asset sets all into one entity. So what I mean by that is if you have this fire alarm, let's push it against the wall. There we go, it's up against the wall. What we can do is we can use our dev tool and we can swap between all of the different assets in that asset library. So we've got like a fire extinguisher, we've got a lever, and we've got an alarm. And what you can do is change this variable. So what this will do is add a like electric pipe to it, and this goes up by half blocks. So this would be 4 blocks up, and you can see it goes 4 blocks up. So let's bring it down a little bit so you can see. So you can see that it is in half blocks. So if I increase this to 5, then that'll bring it all the way up. The other thing is you have your message, so or your mental note. So when you interact with it, if it has a headspace node attached to it, then that will say something. It'll make the new marker and stuff like that. You can also do the fingerprint check on this one as well, or you can turn it off, or you can make it completely unselectable or selectable. So with the extinguisher, the variable doesn't change anything on it, it just stays the same. So yeah, that is the fire alarm assets. And they basically work just the same as the on-site evidence. They have the same function, but just a little bit of a different form factor. So that about does it. If you like what you saw and you want to see more, like and subscribe. I don't like doing the YouTube stuff, but I probably need to do it anyways. But yeah, if you'd like to see more of the day-to-day stuff, that'll be in my Discord. We are doing polls for what to do for new videos in there, so feel free to join. I'll be making a video soon about a demo of the headspace and crime scene stuff as a whole. That'll be really cool to see because it's been like a month, 2 months, you know, it's been forever since I did the other video. But yeah, if you're subscribed, you'll get notified when that gets dropped too, and I'll see you then.